This conference will now be recorded.
If we could have roll call, please.
Counselor Stubbs,
Here.
Counselor Lopez,
Present.
Counselor Perry,
Here.
Counselor Foster.
Present.
Madam, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We have a pretty lengthy agenda this afternoon. Could I have a motion, though, to approve the agenda as written, I guess?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We also have the minutes from the Thursday, November 18th Legal Committee. Are there any corrections, additions, changes, questions? None? Okay, hearing none, then minutes stand approved as they are presented today. Thank you very much. Okay, several regular items on our agenda. The first is the lease agreement with the Southeast New Mexico Community Action Corporation for the Head Start program.
Before Todd starts, let me just say, we had a snafu with the agenda and Adobe didn't talk to Word. And so the bottom of a couple of the pages got cut off and are blank. So we have distributed to y'all a different copy that has all of it there that was, for whatever reason, cut off in the agenda packet.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Okay.
Madam Chair, committee, thank you. The first item up is Roswell Head Start wishes to lease the property at 503 East McGaffey. The Head Start provides an early childhood development program as part of the Head Start program for approximately, and it should say 154 low-income children. I have a typo there. I don't know where I pulled 300, but I gave them extra kids.
Okay.
So 154 low-income children between the ages of 3 and 5 years of age. So the Roswell Head Start would pay an annual rent in the grand amount of $1 per year for the use of the building and provide insurance. The city attorney has reviewed the proposed lease agreement. The term would be for 5 years with up to 3 additional periods of 5 years each. Thank you.
Okay,
Can I?
sure.
On the abstract, it gives 503 East McGaffey. On the lease, it gives 425 North Richardson. Oh, that's our address. I'm looking at this differently. I'm sorry, I see it now. But he gives their, okay, I'm on a totally different one. This is, no, I see it. I've got it now. This is the fiscal address right here, the 503 East McGaffey, correct?
Yes, it is.
All right. All right. I understand now because the other address was in RTGIC. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I have a few questions, but go to my committee first. And are there any questions on this lease? Like Parker said, the version we got today just fills in some of those blanks.
My question, I have a question.
Please, go ahead.
So you reviewed this, and DFA won't have a problem with it? They provide enough?
That's the purpose of the whereas clauses in the front, is to kind of create the justification for why we're leasing it to them at that level of $1. If they, well, yeah, I can't predict what DFA is going to do, obviously, but we have a justification and an argument to explain to them why we're doing it the way we're doing it, and it's not a donation, in our opinion, because of the benefit to the community.
Okay.
Actually, that was one of my questions, so thank you.
Well, just because, and they will, I'm reading all the rest of it, so they are taken care of, and I did, okay. That was my main question with it, just because I know Head Start seems to be, it comes out of a federal program, but this is a contractor that's providing the service through the federal program.
Yeah, and as you say, they do maintain the building, not non-structural maintenance building, yeah.
And at the 503, we only own the one building. The other building there is their building that they own, correct?
That I don't know. Do you know, Todd?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
It's a portable
Mhm.
system.
Yes, sir.
I asked this, I know, because I was on the board when of Head Start, when we bought it for
Okay.
that purpose, but I just wanted to make sure it's still under their ownership.
And I just want to clarify, because the total number of children Head Start takes care of in Roswell is 300, but center number 2 takes care of 154 of those 300. So the county has one of these over off of Tilden and Virginia.
Right.
And they take care of the lease with them, and then we have the other property.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? I just feel, because we've had discussion on different leases on this topic, I just want to bring to everyone's attention that this is a 5-year lease with 3 additional 5-year possibilities. So that's a total of 20 years without coming to council unless we want to change that language. So just, we have done that in some leases. Any other comments or questions? There's no one here from Community Action. Okay. If there's no further discussion, can I have a motion, please, on the Community Actions lease agreement for Head Start?
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to, I'm making a motion without my cheat sheet, but I'll make a motion to accept and to send to full council the lease with Roswell Head Start with the annual rent of $1 for the, for the address at 503 East McGaffey for the lease to run 5 years with 3 additional 5-year options with all other terms and conditions of the lease.
Thank you. And actually, the lease is not with Head Start, it's with Southeast New Mexico Community Actions Corporation.
Correct.
That runs Head Start, so.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, a second. Any further discussion or comments or questions on this lease? Hearing none, then all those in favor of sending this to full council at the January council meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. This will be on the January full council meeting. Next, item 2 is RFP 20003, which is a janitorial custodial services. That was hard for me. Okay. Who's presenting?
I'll just, our procurement officer's out right
Okay,
now, so I will handle this one.
thank you.
This one may seem familiar to you because this is a reevaluation award. What happened was that it was originally evaluated and awarded to 2 of the 3 vendors that applied. Due to our procurement process, which is mandated by state law, the one who was excluded was able to file a protest, which triggered a reevaluation. And upon the reevaluation, it was determined that that in fact, we needed to look at it again. And so they brought together a new committee and they evaluated all the same 3 proposals fresh. And their reevaluation recommendation was to award to all 3 of the vendors. And so this is a reevaluation award recommendation. And so this would be for janitorial services citywide. The 3 vendors would mean that each department would be able to select which of the 3 vendors they would prefer to use. All of the details of the financial terms and the proposals are still per procurement rules under confidentiality until the actual contracts are signed. But if counselors would like to see the proposals, they can come to purchasing and review them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Patterson or about?
Just a quick one. I mean, Geneva's cleaning service, I think, was the one that didn't qualify the last time. What was the difference now? What made the difference?
Without getting into too many of the details, what I will say is I think, because I can't discuss the details too much without revealing, the details of what's in the proposals, which are not public yet. But when the new evaluation committee was convened, it had a broader representation of different departments. And so I think some considerations that weren't brought in the first evaluation came out in the second evaluation, and that caused Geneva to get some points that they didn't get the first time. If that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of weird. She's first now. She was last time. So that's kind of, what did we do wrong or what happened there is kind of my concern,
Sure. And like I said, I think that the mistake on the first round was that the evaluation committee wasn't representative of all the departments. And so some of the needs weren't coming out in the first evaluation.
And we fixed that for it won't happen for future.
I'm hoping that was just a occurrence on that one occasion.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, this would be an award to authorize the city manager to enter into negotiations, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. So can I have a motion then on this reevaluation recommendation for RFP 22-003?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we send to full council recommendation to approve the reevaluated award recommendation for RFP -22-003 janitorial custodial services to include the 3 that are on the report.
Services back here would like to see.
We have, which one? I'm sorry.
I forgot to do janitorial.
I am so sorry. Forgive me, please.
I will stop my motion and hear, because you may change my mind.
Please, if you'd introduce yourself to us, please.
I'm not
Yes,
an orator or anything.
Doesn't
like that.
matter.
I just run a business.
That's good.
I have from janitorial,
okay.
and RFPs are hard to do. We've done many of them. We have RFPs with several counties in Eastern New Mexico. We have RFPs with school districts all over Eastern Mexico. We have CES contracts, which I don't know if you're familiar with CES, but that's a big deal to get. It takes a lot of work. RFPs are a lot of work. We try to be very diligent in what we do. And I'm not here to be a crybaby. I'm here to know if I did something wrong, because I am here to support my business, and I work hard at it. I do a lot of jobs for the city already, which I'm very proud of. I hope I do a good job. If I don't, I will do a good job, and I continue to. I keep contact with my vendors. And like I said, I'm not going to be a crybaby, but there were just several questions that came to my mind on. We did an RFP. It went before committee. It was assigned. They gave 2 of us the ability to be part of the RFPs. And then we had a grievance, which is part of the process. And there were the other two also did a grievance against the grievance, if that makes sense. Because we felt like, okay, it was awarded. So do we have the ability to know, like I know a little bit more now, but the questions answered why? We go through this whole process and then we're going through it again. And this is a timely thing. We know it takes, you're getting the committee, you're going to get another committee, more people. And then I have the same question you did. You're not even accepted, and then you're on the top of the list. That gives me what is going on here? And I know you have a list of the qualifications in the other RFPs that we do. They do list CES, Chaves County, we do Eddy County. They give you your scoring. This is what you missed out on. This is what you didn't do proficiently. And that's what I'm questioning. What did I not do proficiently? Is it an answer we can get? Do we have to wait before it's awarded and then go back and redo everything again? Those kind of questions, I think, are important to me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I understand what you're saying. And as Mr. Patterson said, everything is remaining confidential until it is awarded. And so
After award, all the vendors have the ability to go and once it's awarded, first of all the proposals become public record and you can review all of them. And you have the opportunity to have a meeting with the procurement officer to discuss what happened at time. But as of right now, we're just.
So we don't even have the ability to know what the grievance is.
As I say.
Is that correct?
What the city is not able to disclose any details which would give any of the offerors insight into what the other offerors' proposals were.
Okay.
Those issues are confidential under state law until the contracts are signed.
Okay, because it just seems so, unexplanatory, I guess, at this point to me. And I'm not a master in anything, but except I do my job well. I think the question I wanted to ask.
well, I think it's important to note that as was going to be said or started to be said in the motion, that the motion that's going to go to full council is to authorize the manager to enter into negotiations with all three. And that the way I understood too is the departments will basically be determining which service they prefer to use.
Yeah, that's the idea of a multi-source award, is that each department is able to choose the vendor that they would prefer to use.
Okay, which I can understand that, but then how can you not be in the first go round, be not accepted, and in the second go round, your points are higher than the other two? Question I have.
Again, that's the evaluation
So
committee.
you wait till everything's done and then you can have everybody come back and redo the rebuttals or whatever they want to do again?
I mean, no one, the evaluation committee is not here today, so I can't, and neither is the reevaluation committee. So, and even if they were, again, they wouldn't be able to discuss the details of their decisions without discussing the proposals themselves. And so right now, we're kind of unable to have that discussion.
So do you bring both committees back in and say, why did you do this and why did you do that? And, I don't know, I guess I just have too many questions and not have the answers. I did send letters out to the councilmen and different, hoping, I would get some response, and that didn't happen.
Madam Chair, if I can.
Yes, please.
And I apologize if any letters went out. I didn't get one. So.
We emailed to every councilman, and I did some certified mailing too.
I don't know why I didn't. That's okay. Yeah, I did not get anything, but that's okay.
This is my first go at.
That's all right. You're doing a great job. You're doing just fine. You're doing just fine. If I was in your position, I think I'd be just as equally frustrated. Unfortunately, from what I'm understanding from our attorney, is we are bound by state legislation, by state laws, by statutes that require us to take certain steps. So as much as I think our attorney would love to just explain everything right now, we are bound by what we are given by the state of New Mexico as to what we can give out at this point. I've sort of fought through this battle as a counselor. Y'all will remember my last go around when I was on the council several years ago, I got very frustrated over an RFP situation. And we learned a lot of things that the state of New Mexico as a whole, when they voted, they took certain abilities away from us to be able to know certain information until the deed was done. So I guess let me just ask this to our council. Is there a process to where after the process is done for this representative or another company, whatever, after they get the information, say, no, I see a red alarm, what would the process be at that point?
I mean, I can't give legal advice to our
I understand.
officers, so that is a little bit of a difficult question for me to say. I can say that once it's awarded and the documents become public, the procurement office is available to have, a discussion with any of the vendors about what the process was. But as to what legal options they have at that point.
Those conversations are open to be had at that time.
Yeah.
We're just bound by state laws that we can't have those conversations right now.
Right. Well, I just, when I wrote the letter and I wrote it to Ms. Weeks, who I know is no longer here, and to several people, and I questioned, that's why I wrote a letter that I objected to the objection and then no response to that. And I just felt that there could be, I'm not saying pointing finger, but certain irregularities. And I just thought, well, somebody listened to me, during this process. And so, because we know the guidelines were fashioned as far as RFPs do, and to be following them is important, just like you have stated. That's important thing. We've done several, and I never ever had to do this or even question anything. People that don't meet their criteria. I mean, we're talking at CES, and there's 20 vendors at least in a process like that, and they score you per what you do and what your accomplishments are. And that's what I'm proud of. And being on a top list of CES is a big deal.
Yeah,
so
it is.
That's my questions. Thank you for listening to me.
Well, thank you for coming today. And I think the bottom line is that we're going to propose to council that all three vendors negotiate with all three offerers, I guess, negotiate with the city managers. So the scores are not, they're important. I don't know what do I have to say? They're
relevant.
Nothing, and
Relevant.
we get to be on top.
Yes, I
That's the thing
understand.
that I question is,
Sure.
like, how's that happen?
I think after, as Mr. Patterson said, after it's all said and done and approved, you can certainly talk to the folks at that point.
And just the wording that was used, capricious and arbitrary in the statement. I thought, I looked the words up and I wrote them down because I thought, well, capricious, what does that mean? It's unaccountability, changes the mood or behavior. I just thought that was kind of a strange wording. And arbitrary, we know what that is, but I just thought, is somebody having a mood change and so that's why we're doing this or what?
I don't believe that language came from anyone within the city.
Well,
Yes, it did.
so what happened was that when the initial protest was put in, it was reconsidered, and the basis was that the initial evaluation was arbitrary and capricious. This is a legal term. It's not the dictionary meaning. It's a legal term that basically means exactly what you're saying, that in the first round of evaluation, there were questions about whether it was done in the right manner. And so because it was quote arbitrary and capricious, then we had to do it again. And that's the legal meaning of arbitrary and capricious, not literally.
Not what the
definition,
says.
yeah, it's not the dictionary definition. It's a term of art in the legal field.
I appreciate your time again, and I know you have a long
Thank you.
agenda, so
Thank
I'll
you.
let you get on with that.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much for being here.
Madam Chair, I make
Okay,
a motion that we
yes.
send to full council recommendation to approve the reevaluated award recommendation for RFP 22003 janitorial custodial services to the three on the reevaluated award recommendation report for the city manager to have the ability to go into negotiations therein.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Excuse me. Are there any further comments or questions? Hearing none, then all those in favor of the motion to send this to full council with a recommendation to approve, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. That will be on the January council agenda. Thank you. Sorry. Next, we have a resolution to approve declaring the city's intent to issue an IRB with Admiral Beverage Corporation.
Yeah.
Patterson.
Yes, okay, so I think all of you at one point or another have seen these before. Industrial revenue bonds are a statutory mechanism and is intended to promote economic development. Basically, it allows for bonds to be issued that will fund infrastructure development for private companies, with the idea being that they will then stimulate the economy and create jobs and all the good stuff. From the city's point of view, we end up, so we start with this, which is a resolution which declares our intent. And then following up on this, once we do this, there will be an ordinance, what's called an indenture, and then a lease agreement and various different documents. So it's a fairly convoluted process. But the upshot from our point of view is that the city acts as a fiscal agent for the bond funds, which are paid back as lease payments, and then those then fund the bond. But from our point of view, the city is never on the hook to pay the bond. That is why we're able to do this. It is not our bond, that is not our obligation from the city. This IRB is proposed to fund a new warehouse at the location on Brasher, which you may recall Admiral Beverage recently came through with the liquor license, which was granted by the city. The bond will be for $9 million. And we do have possibly Peter Kelton on the line. He's the bond counsel for Admiral Beverage. And
Yes, I am here.
I don't know if he's muted or not.
He just said yes.
There he is.
Hi, Peter
I'll
Kelson,
turn it over to him.
online.
Yes, thank you for joining in, sir. Would you care to make a statement?
I think that Mr. Patterson has done a great job of giving a high-level overview, just to provide some additional confirmations that these bonds would not be an obligation of the city. There would be no obligation to repay them. Essentially, the city would help in issuing those bonds. Those bonds would be paid back by an affiliate or a subsidiary of Admiral Beverage. These bonds would not count against the city's ability to issue other bonds or anything in that sort of capacity. These projects, as you know, have been done for example, foods, and many other jurisdictions have issued these bonds across the state of New Mexico. And lastly, this is just the first step in getting an industrial revenue bond in place. Before you today is an inducement resolution. This is not indicating that the bonds are going to be issued, but it's just giving the indication to the developer, in this case, Admiral Beverage, that he is interested in pushing forward, and it helps in creating the sort of agency relationship that's needed for certain gross receipts and compensating tax abatements that are associated with industrial revenue bonds. And if you have any specific questions on the legislation, I'm happy to assist.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Are there any questions? Mr. Espiritu.
Madam Chairman, Councilors, Mike Espiritu, Roswell Chapter County Development Corporation. We've been working with Admiral Beverage for well over a year on this project. You may recall in our reports, it's called Project Gold. And we're pretty excited about their ability to really transform that corner of our community, this wonderful building, but more importantly, grow jobs. As the attorneys have both said, it doesn't affect the city's bonding capacity. It is one of the few incentives we can provide here in Chaves County and Roswell to help a business. And we certainly encourage you, we recommend your approval, and we certainly encourage you to forward this to City Council with your full approval.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Appreciate, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I have one. The proposed pilot of 10% of the mill levy imposed. I get lost in all the percentages. 10% of the mill levy, is that 10% of the normal taxes or is that 10% of the?
I believe it's the improvement.
Just the improvement. So the property itself, though, the land doesn't go through any tax.
Yeah, as part of the process by which the IRB functions is that the company will deed the land to the city, and then the city leases it back to the company, and then the lease payments are what are used to pay back the bond. And so during the time period that the IRB is in place, that parcel is technically owned by the city, and so it does not accrue any property tax. And so the idea of the pilot or payment in lieu of taxes is to provide money to this county and the school district mainly for the property taxes which they otherwise would have received. I'm not sure, maybe Peter has a better explanation than I do. He drafted these documents. I reviewed them, but as to those specifics, he probably is better at answering them than I am.
I'd be happy to. So the way that the pilot has.
Can we turn that up? Is that possible?
What's that?
We're trying to turn you up a little bit in here because your speaker's not real loud.
Emily, can we turn them up on the computer itself, like on the desktop?
This one?
Yeah, go down. You can pull up the Windows bar.
Well,
Sorry, I'm just having difficulty hearing you. Give me just a moment.
No worries at all. And if it's helpful, I can also just speak louder.
Hold on.
Now you may be too loud.
Is this good enough?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So
Thank
the
you.
way that the industrial revenue bond transaction is typically structured is that the city would hold title to the project site and improvements on the project site. And during that time, the property is effectively taken off the property tax rolls under the Constitution, given that the city is, its property is not going to be subject to property taxation. And then also by statute that provides for a property tax exemption for leasehold interests for industrial revenue bonds. As part of the developer's contribution in exchange for entering into this industrial revenue bond transaction, there is a pilot that is set in place. Here, the proposal is 10% of what would otherwise be paid had there been no industrial revenue bond transaction at all. So the 10% of the current mill levy imposed, that would mean that whatever the property taxes would ordinarily be in a given year for the IRB, 10% of that would be paid to the city. And if more information is helpful, I'm happy to walk you through that.
The pilot is the beneficiary to the pilot going to be the city, or is it going to be the school district and the?
The three would be, I would think, needs to be the city, county.
But I think we ran into this before. Maybe Mike, you or Joe can explain with the pilot. the beneficiaries are normally going to be the county and the school district. Am I correct in that?
And
That's
Mr.
correct.
Beavis.
Madam Chair, Mr. Counselor, the beneficiaries, because it's tied to the property tax, whoever is entitled to those receipts of the property tax will benefit from it. Normally it's the schools as an example.
But I think when Peter says paid to the city, because the funds go through the city and then the city disperses them out. So like in other IRBs we've done, we receive the pilot and then it's our job to distribute those funds to the relevant entities.
But also this is within the city limits.
Right.
So it's also, the city does receive property tax from it. The
Yes.
county receives property tax and the school receives.
Oh, versus the other, that would be correct. I understand.
Yeah. The Leprino one was outside.
Correct. Okay.
And so the money would go to the city, and then whether the city desires to split that off to county and school districts, that would be up to the city's discretion. And for this inducement resolution, the pilot details wouldn't be finalized. There would still be opportunities to work out the logistics, the exact specifics of those pilot payments and the amounts of those pilot payments. But for now, this is what's being proposed, and what would be considered at the next city council meeting would be whether to move forward with the inducement resolution with the goal of then turning to the bond ordinance. And at that time, the exact specifics of the payments in lieu of taxes would be determined.
And just for your information, the county has been involved in these discussions. I was on a conference call not that long ago with Admiral and the county manager. So they're aware of this, and we're going to be working hand in glove with them on this project so that everybody gets what they need.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Because most of the bigger questions will be in the actual ordinance. And so I'm happy to move.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from counselors? Any other questions at all? Comments? Okay, a motion, please.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we send to full council recommending to approve the approval of resolution 21XX, declaring the city's intent to issue an IRB for Admiral Beverage Corporation for the site at
Including exhibits A and B.
Including exhibits A and B.
2 A's, 2 B's. Thank you. Okay. Motion to recommend to full council.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. I've got a little tiny bug. Any other comments then? Okay. All those in favor of recommending the Admiral Beverage Corporation intent to issue IRB, full council with our recommendation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. That'll be on the January council agenda. Next, we have with RFP 22-010, which is security guard services. Is that Jenna's or Steve? Going to explain that. Steve, would you please?
Madam Chair, councilors, this recommendation is, or this motion is for consider recommendation for approval of the security guard services RFP. This is one of the requirements from TSA. We have to have armed security at the checkpoints when they're loading passengers. So one of the things we're doing with this is also adding it on so other departments can utilize it for security services as well to streamline things. So I stand for questions.
Okay. Are there any questions? Mr. Christopher? Comment?
Currently RPD is covering.
Yes.
And so how long should it take us to be able to, once council approves, to get moving and get?
I believe procurement set the schedule for execution April 1st.
Yeah, it'll take, after you approve the scope of work, then we put the RFP out, then it has to go through a posting process, and from my discussions with the procurement office, sometime in March to April is probably the fastest we're going to get it in place.
Is there not a CES approved?
That's what I was wondering.
The closest one's in Albuquerque, I believe.
Closer to Albuquerque.
That is correct, Madam Chair, committee members. And when we were discussing this RFP, I did reach out to the company that's in CES. Their challenge over there is people can't find the workers. So that's why we're going through the RFP process and we're using our PD at this time. We did reach out to them.
Thank
And
you.
there's no, I'm just asking, there's no emergency clause or ability to, the reason I ask, I mean, we're thin enough with our men in blue, you know, trying to keep them out on the street doing the job. I know I've got 2 boys on the police department. One of them's been out there at the airport quite a bit. And I just know how taxing that is on them. Then when they take on their regular shifts, you know, that.
We did have that discussion about whether we could do it as an emergency procurement, but emergency procurement, and this is something I think the procurement code could probably use some tweaking, because right now it's really only permissible in events that are like catastrophic, you know, tornadoes, hurricanes, acts of terrorism. So not having security guards, we couldn't make it fit under the existing procurement code for an emergency procurement. We tried, we thought about it, but we couldn't make it work.
Do we have, do we have armed security that qualify for, that are TSA within the city limits? I mean, do we know, I mean, what I'm trying to say is there an ability to do sole source? If there's only one company within our.
Sole source also is a procedure. You have to publish it on the state website for 30 days. Sole source is not a quick one.
It's not a quick one.
It's quick, but you have to justify it with an emergency.
But sole source is still a little bit quicker than the regular RFP process. And if we only have one armed security guard that meet TSA requirements.
Well, 3 security services in town.
That are armed, and that's the thing.
So we can't do a sole source if there's 3 potential vendors out there.
But that's my still question is, I don't think we have 3 that are armed.
Yes.
They are, all 3 of them are armed? Okay. Okay, then we have to go the regular route. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank y'all for trying. We're just trying to get them out on the streets, you know. Madam Chair, if there's no others.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, yes, go ahead.
Make a motion that we send to full council the recommendation to approve the scope of work for RFP 22010 for the security guard services for the Roswell Air Center and city departments.
Second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Again, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of recommending to full council RFP 22-010, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have Armstrong Consultants Task Order D. Mr. Fuentes, thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair, councilors, if we can go to the next slide. So this is consideration or approval of Armstrong Consultants Task Order D, and this is related to the Ascent project. So Armstrong Consultant was selected through the on-call project of engineering services through the RFP 20007 process. A PSA, professional services agreement, was negotiated and executed by the city manager. Now, the project is listed as a large hangar development and on our city master project list. As you can know, we're currently underway. Since we do have an agreement as well with the county, this task order will be financed and funded through the $3 million that the state awarded the county for airport improvements. So we have already submitted for reimbursements for this project. And again, unfortunately, through our policy, 60,000 is the limit for before council is approval is requested from the city council. So at this time, we are seeking approval. We ratify the expenditure of the 1.3 for the engineering services. Go to the next slide. So just again, I'm sure you've seen this before. Phase 1 will be this project of our, that we're asking for is for the horizontal project, and that is for the foundation, which includes some parking lot, as you can see there in phase 1, and also part of the retention pond as well. Phase 2 will be a future project. So right now, our responsibility is solely on the horizontal foundation, parking lot, and the pond. Ascent will be the ones that are working on the plans for the actual vertical, which will be the hangar itself. So it is a project that has multiple different pieces that we have to coordinate with them. So at this time, I will stand for any questions.
I have a question. Is it a detention pond or a retention pond? What's the difference?
It's
A
retention.
detention pond does not hold water. A retention pond holds water, so there'll be a body of water in there. Detention, it goes away. And so it's generally dry at the bottom unless it has rain in it. So
A retention has a lining.
Well, not necessarily have a liner, but one will carry water all the time. Retention pond will retain.
It retains it.
Detention means that the water is there only momentarily, and so it's generally dry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I learned something today. It's good.
They're both flood control techniques.
Right.
Okay.
I thought there was a difference.
Difference, as Joe said, is with a retention basin, you do actually retain the water. The water is allowed to either infiltrate, percolate into the ground, or evaporate. With a detention basin, the idea is to cut the flow of water back to the point where it runs ankle deep for 3 days as opposed to hip deep for 24 hours.
Okay, thank you all very much. Okay, so this is a detention pond. Right. Okay, all right, forgive me. I just needed to learn something today. Any questions of Mr. Fuentes?
One question I have is that the green, so are we talking taxiway improvement too, or is it just what's from the phase 1, that direction, north?
This task order is only for what's phase 1, which is I believe it's green.
Well, but see, the taxiway's green too, so
Yes,
that's where
that covers that.
it does cover the parking on that.
Everything that's green up there is part of the project.
I will point out that even this strip here is also covered. It's not the right color.
Okay. All right. So we're getting the apron and everything ready for phase 2 also, but not what's the parking in front of what will be phase 2.
Right.
Okay. All right. I'm good.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? So we already have this money allocated for a project. This is specific to what we're going to do.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, could I have a motion, please?
You want to take this one?
All right. Jump back.
I need to be spoken.
All right, Madam Chair, I'd like to
Thank you.
make a motion to consider recommending approval of an expenditure of $1,337,887.76 for the design and construction engineering services for phase 1 of the Ascent project.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
A second. Any further discussion, comments, questions? All those in favor of the motion to send this to full council with our recommendation to approve, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. That'll be on January's agenda. Item number 6 is Armstrong Consultants Task Order E, which is to approve, we're asking us to approve an expenditure for design and construction engineering services. That's Mr. Christopher.
Chair, councilors, yes, this is along the same lines. It's on the project list. This is for the rehabilitation and repair of the aprons. This will be the phase one. We're requesting the $525,256 for the engineering services. If we can go to the next slide, I can show you what. So essentially what this is the aprons that are going to be redone. So asphalt will be asphalted. If there's concrete panels that need repair, we're going to do the chunks of the concrete, as well as milling back feeds on the shoulders and as the shoulder repair areas as needed as well.
Thank
I'll
you.
stand for questions.
This is an AIP grant? Okay.
It's total work is $3,178,900.
Okay. But you're asking only for the 525
256, yes, ma'am.
okay, today. Okay, any questions or comments? I sense a question here.
No, I'm just trying to remember, those sections that are cut out, how long has it been since we've done those? I remember when we did those in front of, the name Flight's coming to me, but you know where I'm talking about.
I can't answer.
And you wouldn't be able to answer that. I'm sorry.
No one here is able to answer that.
And that's okay. It doesn't change what we're, that's all right.
But they were in good shape, and that's the only reason why they're not being redone at this time. So
Okay, all right.
when they did their inspection.
Oh, good, thank you. Okay, any other questions, comments? Do we have a motion? Go ahead.
I make a motion that we send to full council recommendation for the approval of Armstrong Task Order E, apron rehab phase one engineering services in the expenditure of $525,256 for the design and construction of their engineering services.
Second. Motion and a second to send this to full council with our recommendation to approve. Again, any further discussion, comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Again, this will be on the January full council agenda. We're now going to page 121. That was a long. And the next item, number 7, is the authorization of ABF Roofing to repair and upgrade the roof on the on building 93. Jenna.
Madam Chair, I'm
Please.
Katie. If we can go to the next slide. The background of this building is that the metal roofing there has sustained hail damage multiple times, but it will have monies coming back from the insurance claim from hail 2021 that will apply to offset some of the costs of the repairs. ABF is a roofing contractor who has an existing contract valid through July 2022. And this building is the priority project that ROW has chosen to work this winter and spring to upgrade and get ready for market. At this time, it is imperative for us to create the PO in order to secure the materials for the project. It's looking like from ABF that it can take up to possibly May before our materials will get in. So we're trying to get this project in place and planned out sooner than later so that we can start securing the materials needed. So ABF Roofing and Foam has submitted a proposal bid with the sales tax excluded in the amount of $265,000, $245.31. And I do have the proposal attached. This is the scope of work. They will have to fill foam in where the metal is existing, and then they'll lay the TPO membrane over the top of the existing roof. They will do any of the prep work to secure that roofing will not be a problem as an underlayment. And then there's also a layer that goes between the metal roofing and the TPO membrane that they secure too. They also are recommending that we remove the pan gutter system, just because when we were up on the roof, everything is packed with mud. It's very difficult to keep the water off the roof in that system. So that is part of this proposal as well. And then they will reroute the water down so it'll fall right off to the sides, and that will assist us not having interior water damage running down the walls in the future as well. If you'll go to the next slide, this is a video that we took of a metal roof yesterday. The wind gets up underneath the metal roofing. It actually creates a bubble, and it will pop the screws right off that right off the top. So that kind of gives you a visual as to why we're looking towards upgrading to a TPO product versus the metal roofing as well. That's a large piece of shrapnel to be heading across an airfield. So next slide, please. And here's a picture of building 93. As you can see, there are multiple places where we've already repaired. So that will be a continued maintenance as well, with that metal roof staying in place with oxidization. And then the front is where that pan system, gutter system is as well.
I remember now.
Thank you.
Stand for questions.
Okay, any questions?
Madam
Councilor
Chair,
Perry,
it's really not with the roof itself, but the HVAC and everything on there. Where are we at with all of that on this building?
So that'll be part of our project as we go. We're going to do a bid for the interior painting because there is some water damage in there as well for flood. And then the HVAC will also become part of, if it's working great and everything's wonderful, we're going to leave it alone. But if it needs to be replaced or repaired, then we will take care of that at that time as well.
Madam Chair,
please.
if I remember right, though, we have quite a bit of copper missing from this building.
Yeah.
There is on the down units. Yes, you're correct. And Steve, you can probably answer to that a little bit because you've been out there with me.
Is the units on the side that were for the refrigeration, they're gone. So inside the wiring wise, the last time we were in there, there wasn't anything missing.
Okay.
But yes, the outside units are shot, but we would wait until we have the need for that many refrigeration units before we replace them. Our goal is to get it back to either factory laboratory or what it's meant for. So again, we would wait and see. And then also looking at it, we did do some assessments. If we did go back to the refrigeration units that are required, they're smaller now, they're more efficient. So we wouldn't need as many, or there's better ways to design it.
Mount them higher up, have them on the ground.
Fence, razor wire. May I ask, Madam Chair, what is the warranty that we are getting? Oh, I see 1 year labor warranty. What is the warranty on the actual?
It will depend on what material he's able to procure. So that warranty can be up to 35 years. The ABF is planning on using the same TPO product that is on Terrace.
And what's the square footage on this building?
That I don't know. You know?
It seems like a really good deal. That seems like a very reasonable price on a roof. So that's why I was wondering on the warranty and everything, what kind of price.
Okay. Madam Chair.
Yes.
You said the materials aren't supposed to be here until, or expected to be here when?
So possibly May.
May. They have a contract with us until July. Do we know if they're?
I believe they can get on it as soon as possible. ABF is a company that is interested in having a relationship with us during our hail repairs. And so we're a priority client for them right now. And I think they would grandfather us into the cost as well. I don't see them not renewing their contracts as long as everything will run smoothly with the city's contractuals.
And that cost lock, I mean, we're locked into that price no matter what.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, good questions. Any further discussion? Get a motion then to recommend to full council?
Make a motion, we send to full council, recommendation to approve, to authorize, ABF Roofing to repair and upgrade the roof from metal to TPO on building 93 in the amount of $265,234.31.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on ABF roofing. Any further discussion, comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor of recommending this to full council, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is roads company interested in installing new HVAC on the Sidney Gutierrez building. Is that yours, Janet? Please.
The current control system is not operating properly. It's resulting in an uneven heating in the building when the boiler is turned on. So basically the boiler is turned on and it gets really hot and the people upstairs are roasting and the people downstairs are comfortable. So what we've gone to is having turn the boiler on in the morning to get it warm enough and then shutting it down while we've been going through this process to try to get the best possible solution going forward. The existing system that is there is a proprietary system. It's very costly and parts are not available for it anymore. We've had 2 different HVAC companies out. Fulkerson was monitoring initially and we're not able to move forward with getting a solution for us. So we called a secondary contractor in to evaluate as well. And they kind of confirmed the same thing that Fulkerson had confirmed, that it's a proprietary system and it would cost us less to put an entire new system in if we went with the existing company versus just adding a new control unit to the existing boiler. So in this solution, we don't have to get a new boiler. We're just putting a control and control valve system in to repair the problem.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments?
I've been out there and this is one of my projects I've been working with them on because the principal out there had called me and I went out and the current system is running on Windows 97 or Windows Vista. And it's on a laptop that I haven't seen one that old in a long time. And the scary thing is that they've been putting several $1,000s a month into repairing it every time. So they're very open to, because with our current lease with them, they are responsible for repairs.
Right.
But with this being such a big thing, they said they were very open to renegotiating and paying a higher rent and paying this off. And so, which really the state will end up, will be the one paying it. The state pays the rent. They don't pays for the rent, doesn't pay for the repairs. And so they're happy to renegotiate that. And so they'll be happy that we get something in for them that's not.
And they have been good partners.
Yes, they have. They've been there quite a while. Could I ask Mr. Nib, that negotiation would definitely happen?
Yes, yeah, it will. And then we talked about this all along. We were having problems with this. Essentially, this is what we've done with a lot of our other business partners out there is that we'll cover the cost on the front side and then we'll amend the lease on the back side and recoup the funding so that the leases stay
good,
accurate. So yeah, not a problem. I know Councilor Foster has been very active with this as well.
Good, good. Thank you. I have another question just on their proposal where it says that their supplier cannot hold the current pricing until December 29th.
Speak to the owners of roads and they're willing to secure our pricing. The availability of the parts is what tends to be the problem right now. So This system actually will also allow us to be an administrator of the system. So it can be on my computer or on my cell phone even, and I'll be able to monitor what's happening over there. And then they also will be a user of that system. So it helps us with diagnostics as well. We don't necessarily have to have a service person come out. It may tell us exactly what's going on before having to have somebody come out. So.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, discussion?
My only other statement is I'm glad they can use the existing boiler. We just replaced that boiler before they moved into that building, and so it's good that
That's great.
that they can use it and use a new system. So
Thank you. Yes, that's important. Good. Okay, can I get a recommendation motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to send to full council to make the recommendation approval to authorize roads company to install a new HVAC control system in building 524, Sidney Gutierrez Middle School for the amount of $98,877, tax included.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. We have a motion and a second to refer this item to full council in January with our recommendation to approve. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you both. Okay, item number 9 on our agenda is consideration again of the proposed ordinance amending Article 60 of zoning code related to signage. Parker?
Yeah, I brought this one forward. So as you probably know, Article 60 of the zoning code does cover signs of all types in the city, whether on personal property or commercial or any type of signs that may be out there within the city. Article 60 addresses them in one way or another. The amendment that I'm bringing forward to you is relatively focused on a particular issue which has come up, which is the question of putting signs in the right of ways. Currently, the ordinance prohibits this in all cases. In the past, this has created some challenges for code enforcement because there's quite a few signs that come up, especially around certain times like election season, that are in the right of way, and trying to address the owners of these signs citywide creates some challenges. So the proposed amendment would address this by allowing some signs to be placed in the right of way where the right of way abuts private property, if the private property owner agrees to it. And the other thing that we're doing here is we're changing, or we would propose to change some of the provisions relating to what I'm calling temporary signs. Right now, we kind of name check a couple different ones like political signs and special event signs. But what I would propose might be a better approach would be to just refer to temporary signs as those signs which relate to a particular event or occurrence, and say that any sign like that needs to be taken down within 5 days after that event or occurrence. I would recommend an approach like this because it is what they call content and viewpoint neutral, meaning that we're not picking out particular signs and treating them differently. The best approach under the First Amendment is to not at all touch what is on the face of the sign, what it says, and only regulate the time, place, and manner of the signs. And so here, this would not be saying political signs this, church signs that. It says if it's a temporary sign, it needs to come down 5 days after the event that it refers to. So those are the two changes that I'm proposing. But what I have done is put the entire sign ordinance in your packet for you just to take a look at. If there's other things that you are interested in addressing, we can look at that as well. So with that, I'd stand for any questions.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Yes.
Question.
Foster.
Yeah.
Not located within the site triangle or closer than 5 feet from the nearest curb.
Yeah. So right now, you would have to be 5 feet back from the right of way.
Right.
We're now just moving that to 5 feet from the curb, or that's the proposal.
But you still have some of those places that you don't have 5 feet between the curb and the sidewalk. So now
You'd have to be behind the side. You'd have to be behind the sidewalk then, yeah.
and so that's where I'm saying we're back to where we were, because you've got real estate signs that are in clear violation of this. And so I'm not saying, I would like it to say it's not an obstruction, because you can be 3 feet off the road and not be an obstruction. You could be, I mean, but if it's an obstruction and it's a safety, then that's where I would say we step in and say that we got to pull. And in the side triangle, anything in the side triangle is an obstruction we can't have.
You could do it, we could draft it so that they can't be, as you say, rather than, you could strike the language referring to 5 feet from the curb and say it can be placed in the right of way with all the other things and otherwise not obstructing foot traffic, or so we could come up with a phrase like
traffic or vehicle traffic, as long as it's not an obstruction and a safety, it becomes a safety issue.
you could do that.
That way they can still put it in there. And I mean, because I hate to go around, because when you start go around all our neighborhoods, some of our right of ways are only 5 feet total. And some of our right of ways are 20, 30 feet. So that's not a problem there.
Or more.
Yeah, but then you're still wanting our, I guess, not our police force, it would be our actually, code enforcement going around with a 5 foot and measuring from the curb. And that's, we don't want. I mean, if it's an obvious that it's going to be an obstruction and a safety issue, that's what we want. And if you're driving by, you can see that right away. You don't want them stopping and having to measure every sign.
That's certainly true. I think part of the dilemma or difficulty in coming up to language is the variety of the rights of way that we have in this town. I mean, every street is different. It's certainly in different subdivisions or different parts of town. So we don't want to make that that's so onerous that it becomes a real problem as to how far it is. Are you going to?
Madam Chair, I was just going to say also, when we had the sign ordinance, we went through it, boy, it's getting all that done. And you look back now and you think, well, this could have been done differently or something. I just want to see it in such a way to where we're not having to we're not going to enforce it for this time, or we're not going to enforce it during this holiday or during this election. I want something that we're going to be able to enforce, but also be realistic. I mean, already we're in campaign mode. I'm not, thank goodness, but there's campaign mode going on right now, and we're already getting the buzz about the signs. We get back to the same predicament. I'm not concerned with how far away from the curb they are, as long as it is not a nuisance, or nuisance is not the word, a health and safety issue.
The only thing I'll say is the 5 foot from the curb is definite, right? You can take a ruler and measure it. The more you get into health and safety, the more it becomes a subjective determination, which then opens you up to, well, I don't agree with that. It's a health and safety violation. I want my sign there. So, I mean, I just, where we can create rules that are enforceable in an objective sense, it does make, I'll defer to Kevin, but it does make enforcement a little easier in that sense.
I understand. I think for me though, on the 5 foot thing, I think we pass this and we end up right in the same place again, where we're just not going to enforce it. I don't want to have, I just don't like things on the book that we're not going to enforce.
Well, we haven't enforced it. Even when we said about the political signs, you can drive around right now. I'd say 90% of every realtor sign is illegal right now. And so why is it that we allow that, but we're not going to allow a church to put a sign?
And that is definitely something that we don't want to do, because as I was saying a minute ago, really you want to be totally neutral as to what kind of sign it is. We treat all signs the same, and that's really the goal.
And we want realtors to be, and we want them to be able to sell the houses, and we want the people, but and up until the point, I've argued lots of times that, no, this is my, I've had people climbing up in my tree saying, no, this is city land. This is city. Well, it is city right away, but you're going to sue me if you fall out of that tree. You're not going to sue the city.
Let's do both.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, your point, I think in the past, as I've said, this has been a difficult one to enforce. And so the idea here is to kind of get halfway and say, this is a standard that will accommodate the desire to put in the right of way and also be something that code enforcement could actually hopefully do. And that, kind of make a compromise means nobody's happy, and that's what I will achieve.
So what did you suggest for
Taking away the 5 foot.
5 foot and put in language that it doesn't obstruct or otherwise endanger health and safety of.
Obstruct or endanger?
Yeah, obstruct or endanger.
Okay.
Say that one more time. Not located within the site triangle and.
Not otherwise creating an obstruction or endangering the public. How about something like that?
Okay. Good. You're okay. You can't read that. Tell me what it says.
You have no idea. I don't read pig
Streets with no
obstruction
my
or.
Endanger.
We have hundreds of miles of street.
Endangering the public.
Or endanger.
10 feet from back.
Okay, so that would go where?
Breaking the curb anyway.
Give me a,
We're not doing 5 feet from that.
That's 8. So section 2,
oh, right
5 feet is
right there. Okay,
paragraph 8.
Health, safety,
On
and obstruction. That's the.
okay. So are we all clear on what we're suggesting?
And then striking holiday signs, special event signs.
That's already
Yeah.
on this.
Yeah.
As well as political and real estate.
Okay.
So we're putting all that language up into 4, basically.
Yeah.
Cleans it up. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
And I like it that we were able to, since it is on city property, enforce the 5 feet. Otherwise, we couldn't. If it's on their property, they can.
Right, they can do it as long as they want. Okay. I thought that had been in there. There'd been something before about that. Maybe not.
What about the time?
Yeah.
It was, but it was also deemed unconstitutional because we didn't have the ability to enforce it.
Everything.
The other thing that's in here, and I forgot to mention, is we do have a paragraph at the end that does address enforcement.
Yeah.
And so what we have here is that someone who violates this and shall be, if you're violating this, you can be punished by a fine of not less than $50 and not more than $300 for each violation, with each day a separate violation. Also, code enforcement is given the ability to remove signs that are in violation and, as you say, are located in the right of way or public easement, and they can remove them and basically take them back to code enforcement, and they leave a notice or otherwise notify the owner of the sign. We've got your sign, come get it within 7 days, and if not, then we are going to dispose of your sign. So that just gives us the ability to do that, but protects the people's rights in their property. Well, that's my sign. You can't just chuck it, right? So that's kind of the idea.
Hate to say this, but I just hope this doesn't become an easy way for somebody to get their signs all removed and thrown away.
Well, I don't disagree. That's kind of the place we're stuck, is if they don't come get them, either stay there forever or we come get them.
Or we get them.
But as far as an illegally placed sign now, do we have to notify them? I mean, we have so many of people that are still sticking them up on telephone poles and putting them up on things. We don't have to even notify them that we've taken their sign, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think I can, and maybe we can clean that language up, but I think I can distinguish between you putting up a sheet of paper onto versus like a.
Well, right now we have the internet, somebody selling internet that they go ahead and staple it to our telephone poles.
Which is a violation.
Violation. if they've done it to my telephone pole, I just ripped it off and threw it away.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's several places in town where I've seen it.
But have a lost puppy.
Yeah, lost puppy is another thing. I understand. But I'm still like, yeah, they're still not so.
Yeah, but you're discriminating.
Yeah, but someone offering services should know our code, should know that, I mean, and it's amazing how many of those signs I drive by every day. And
So I mean, this, I don't know whether that is workable or not. It was just an idea I had about how to deal with signs in the right of way, but I'm open to suggestions. It's an idea.
I mean, if the city removes it, but if it's
Yeah, well,
sign on a telephone pole, I'll still pull it off on mine and throw it away. They can complain.
But that's not in this ordinance. It's somewhere else, isn't it?
Well,
I don't know. I mean, because
I don't know.
that's always been there. You can't put them on, like on a stop sign or.
it is, here,
Go ahead.
Don't let someone from the calling it a telephone.
No, there are telephone poles still in.
They're called electric poles.
When did they quit calling it telephone?
1932.
here you go.
I deserved that, didn't I? Okay.
Counselor, on page
Yes, please.
126,
Yes, sir.
you go, section 2, prohibited signs. I'll give you a minute to get there.
Okay.
Number 6, signs attached to or otherwise affixed to in any way utility poles, light poles, rocks, trees, or other natural features that are located in, on, or over public rights of way and or easements.
Thank you.
That's the,
So it is
it's in the sign ordinance.
in this ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking it was long before we did this. Okay, thank you.
Madam
Not
Chair,
tell-
may I just not to belabor this, but a thought, were there ever any fixes to, I know when we did an ordinance and then not long after that, and I won't say who, but there was a company that opened, they were putting signs all over town with PVC piping that held them together and stuff but it somehow made it through and there was considerations of fixing that. Did that ever get fixed? I just don't remember.
I'm not,
Where they were placing, or was it tight that they weren't?
Both, because they were
Yeah,
tearing up and
right.
different things. But anyway, I don't want to belabor.
I don't remember.
That's for another day. Okay, that's all right.
That's interesting. Okay. All right.
Madam Chair, may I ask one point of clarification on enforcement? The
Page you're
line-
on, please.
Okay, it's page 133, section 11,
Thank you. Yes.
or 2 says the department shall retain a sign for a period of 7 days. May I ask if we clarify and make sure that's either specified calendar days or business days?
Oh, good point.
Just to remove that ambiguity.
Thank you.
no, I mean, I don't mind, we can put in there.
From a department perspective, the shorter the better.
I'm sure.
We don't have the storage for this.
Well, the only challenge with doing calendar days is then if it lands on a Saturday, the 7th day, then effectively it's shorter.
That's why I'm asking either business days or calendar days.
Right, but the calendar days would be the shorter one. The business days, make sure that it lands on a day.
Right.
And if it happens on a Saturday, then we're going to throw them away on a Monday, not a Saturday.
Right.
I would hope that we're not bringing somebody in to throw them away.
It could happen though.
Think about the call out and the overtime, but
I know.
I would think 5 business.
Business days.
That's what I was just going to suggest. We put it at 5 business days and then you cover it.
Yeah.
Good
So
catch.
not 7, 5, 5 business days. Changing 7 to 5 and making it business days.
5 business days. Okay.
Everybody okay with that, committee?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. That's good. Okay.
I would, just to return for a moment to our earlier discussion, Josh has pointed out quite rightly that on page 126, Signs, it shall be unlawful for any person to erect or place any of the following signs. Number 3, signs which obstruct access or pose a safety hazard to pedestrians or motorists. So the discussion we were having a moment ago about that is already in there.
Yeah, so we don't even need to leave that.
You could probably,
Not located within the site. Well, I like that just because everybody needs to.
well, that one's number 5,
Yeah,
but I don't mind leaving it in there if it, just to clarify.
yeah. Oh, it's already, yeah, it's
Yeah,
number
so,
5 too.
right, so it's already illegal to to obstruct or pose a safety hazard, and it's already illegal to put it in the site triangle. So I mean, what we could do is just say, provided the signs placed in the rights of way are exempt from this subsection if they're permitted by the private property owner and otherwise in conformity with this section.
That's the better language.
Then all of that will still just be covered there.
You writing this down?
I'm not. Where are we?
Say it again.
And in conformity with,
This section.
in conformity with other, or just with this.
This section, yeah. Eliminating B completely.
Okay,
Hurry before
consensus
somebody
on
gets.
that?
Finds something.
We're okay with that?
I like that too, because it also then, I mean, lets them know that they still can't put it on utility poles, light poles, box trees, or, yeah,
For telephones.
doesn't say telephone, utility pole.
Still gonna call them telephone.
I'm with you.
Thank you. All right, anything else?
Madam Chair, the date, so it can only do up to 5 days after the event.
The
Does it say
election.
anything?
Yeah.
Or any event, right? Like
Any event.
churches or whatever. Is there anything in there saying how many days before, prior?
No.
No?
Oh,
So.
we've never looked at that.
So we
I don't
can
know.
leave it here until the event and have it in the yard and it'd be okay.
As written.
Okay,
Mhm.
just saying.
I know, you're right. But again,
Yeah.
that one's a little harder, I think, to regulate. Because I put out a sign and I'm not sure when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Put the sign. Could happen.
Well, see, because down here, it used to say 45 days before the special event.
Yeah, it did.
Special events, yes.
But again, that's just too hard.
Yeah.
What if you change the date of your event?
I'm gonna change it every year, just put a sign up.
No, that's right. It can happen. All right. Any other questions or comments on the addition to the sign ordinance? We've made 2 or 3 changes. 2. Okay. Which are in section 2
And one,
and one at the end, which is the new part.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we recommend the full council to advertise the holding of a public hearing, consider adoption of the proposed ordinance amending Article 60 of the Roswell zoning code relating to signs with the following changes that were made today. Section 2, prohibited signs. Paragraph 8, striking B and all language after, and after A, it would read permitted by the owner of the private property and in conformity of this section. And in section 11, paragraph 2, line 15, in any event, the code enforcement department shall retain the sign for a period of 5 business days.
Good.
And the word of needs to be in there. Of 5 business days. That's the motion.
Second.
Thank you. Wasn't there something?
And Madam Chair, and the striking of the other language, of course, is as written here.
Not me. I don't even know. Sorry.
It's understood in my motion that everything else that's presented here, the other changes are, I'm just changing those.
From this writing.
All right.
Where were we going to put, create other? I can't read it.
We don't need that anymore.
We aren't because of what we just did.
Yeah.
Should be. Okay, sorry, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion to recommend a public hearing and approval.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Of the additions to the sign ordinance. Do we have a second?
Yes.
We did. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, then any other discussions? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
If I can just say, since our manager's here, we're in a period of time right now with holidays and with elections. Seeing as we're looking at making these changes, my suggestion would be that we. Okay.
All right, Madam Chair, I was going to wait till after the decision of the group here.
Thank you.
As far as what the amendment is. This is an ordinance adjustment, so that is a 2 reading, which means that we will not complete this action until the middle of February. The election is in March. I will speak with legal and community development about instituting an administrative exemption to incorporate this. This is what we did in the last election, giving the council time to go through that. And so we will enact it early as long as I have the confirmation from legal and community development that we will allow this for this election cycle pending your final decision in, I would assume, February. Okay.
That's great.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate that very much.
Holidays cycle.
All right. Thank you all. Appreciate that. Okay. So we're okay with that. We have one more item on our agenda, which is the Roswell Clean Air Act. We have a draft in our packet. Thank you. Where am I? What page am I? We are on page 134. We have a draft in our packet. I was hoping that the draft we got out of legal last month was going to be in here, and it's not, but because I don't think we completely said one or the other. So I have what was in the packet last month from legal. Mr. Mavers, you want to tell us what's different and where we are with what you're proposing?
Madam Chair, thank you very much. I was going to make a promise to all of you as an incentive to go ahead and move this thing through, that from now until the balance of the year, I promise to not bring any more cannabis or cannabis-related items to the committee or to the city council. Now, having said that.
Won't let you.
Anyway, having said that, the changes that you have in front of you to the version of the ordinance that is in your packet are relatively modest. You have a section that was stricken and redlined on page 139 having to do with private vehicles. And then I believe we adjusted the penalties for smoking to bring them into line with state requirements.
I don't think they are.
I think that we're supposed to, and maybe I missed that. That might have been my fault.
Okay.
On page 142.
No, these are okay.
Yeah,
these are okay. Yeah, no, they're fine.
Yeah, they were higher than that before, but they've been dropped back.
Okay, so they have been dropped.
Beyond that, again, we are still recommending that the creation of a separate article. We do believe, staff continues to believe that the Clean Air Act needs to be in chapter 14 as opposed to chapter 16. With that, we stand for questions.
So I had a question. Who enforces chapter, what did you just say, 14?
Chapter 14, right.
Because what does it, help me again? 60 is enforced by?
16 is nuisances, and that's code enforcement. And 10 is,
10, I'm sorry, not
10 is criminal, and that's generally enforced by the police.
Right, okay. So who enforces this one?
So this most likely will fall under code enforcement action as well, since this is an amendment to the municipal code.
And it could be, Madam Chair, it could be enforced by either department, code enforcement or police department. Because if we got a complaint late in the evening at a restaurant, somebody's smoking it, it would be a law enforcement officer.
Okay.
That would respond to that.
Okay, so it's not written anywhere what specifically, it's just kind of in generalities because of the topic. Okay, thank you. That makes a lot of sense too. Okay, yes, sir.
Any of the ordinances can be enforced by our police department. I mean, if a police officer is on site, he can use that ordinance to
Right.
further investigate. And that's where it comes to that point where any of them, but normally just straight enforcement, we usually use code enforcement for most of it. But the only other thing that I saw on this was that we also need to re-letter on page 139. You did struck B, but then you left C, D. You didn't read.
Good catch.
So I know I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. I do not see a comparison between what we have had and what you're proposing, Kevin. So, I mean, I just think I need to know, I think the public wants to know if this is something they're interested in, what do we have right now and what are we changing it to? And this doesn't give us a clear picture of that.
I believe we had that we went through that last month and we discussed that.
But we haven't seen it. I haven't seen a red line copier. I haven't seen I haven't seen, I mean, this doesn't show me where the differences are. Is what I'm saying. So you've completely rewritten it, is what you're telling me.
It is a complete rewrite because we're moving it into a different chapter. But I do believe as part of the process we've gone through over the last several months, we have identified the changes that we're making several times.
Well, I still have some problem with it. I'll see what everybody else has to say, but I have some real problems with it, doing it that way. Any other comments?
Madam Chair, just to clarify.
Sure.
You want to see the original draft side by side with the edited or with the red line draft, right?
I could do side by side, which is real pain in the.
Or, I mean, well,
but I
clarify that just
yeah
together. That way it can be easier compared to whoever wants to take a look at it.
I mean, I can remember the pain and agony it took with also the revisions of what we have now, which is called what is it? I don't know.
It's the Smoke-Free Air Act.
Smoke-Free Air Act, yeah, of 2004, actually, is what it's still called. But I don't know. We typically, and I can't remember just totally replacing an ordinance without seeing what the changes are. Because something's been on the books for a long time. And I just think people, or I would like to, maybe not people, me, would like to see where the changes actually are and what the difference is.
I kind of feel the same.
Here we are, this is all new. Why is it all new? And what is not in it that may have needed carryover, or what is, or this is good, it replaces old language. I'd like to just be able to know that. So.
Madam Chair, I'm going to ask that if you're going to go down this road, that staff is going to need very clear direction, because beginning next year, we're going to redo the entire zoning and development code. Right now, it's an appendix to the municipal code.
Right.
It'll be moved into a brand new chapter of the municipal code.
Right.
We're doing a 100% rewrite of that as well, beginning next year.
But see, I'm not sure that 100% is always right. And I don't know that if I don't see the original with the changes in it. I don't,
We can produce I mean, it's not difficult. We take this and instead of printing it on this paper, we go to 11 by 17s and we put one page here and one page here.
no,
And
I can
side by
do
side
that.
comparison.
I can do that. That's not what I want. I don't want to have to pick each word out to see. I want to see it combined, collapsed into one document.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, I think what you're trying to say is in the past, when we've had significant changes or turnover and rewrites, like if there's a whereas that's added here, that it's in the original document is what the working document would be. And that whereas would be in a different color. So we would know that's and then if there's something stricken that has and it's just, it is a heavy document. It's a very busy document. It can be a frustrating document, but it's all in one place. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yes, yeah, you probably said it better than I did.
Yeah, I understand that. And I agree with you. It's easier, especially for the public to compare and make their decision or make their comment on. It's the best for them.
Yeah, I mean, we're totally rewriting law. And it just seems to me that it's important to know what we're rewriting from.
But we may not be truly rewriting, but that's the.
But I don't know that.
We don't know that. And that's the key to it, to the point where we don't want something to get dropped when it was moving over that we thought was covered and it wasn't. So, and I think that's the assurance you want, because you don't want to have thought we had everything done and we pass an ordinance and then find out that because we left off one paragraph, left off one sentence, that we've opened it up to where it's not enforceable to the degree that we thought it was enforceable.
You guys said it all better than I did. Thank you. Yeah. So is that something that can be done?
I think it's already been done.
I think it's already been done. That's the point we're trying to make is we produced that document several months ago.
I don't.
The one that came to, what came to city council was 3 different.
What was that?
We had the D. Johnson Clean Air Act separately. And then we had.
So you have the date on it? When was it produced? Because that's Parker just found the copy of what we produced.
Good.
It was mailed out to everybody on November 3rd.
Month and a half.
What was the date, Parker?
November 3rd. What I can do, it was November 3rd, and it was sent out to all the committee members, Kevin, Spencer, and Amalia. I sent it, it's called Clean Air Act - Red Lines, November 3rd.
Okay, I don't remember it.
Yeah, right next.
Okay. So.
Just forward those again.
Yes, I will. I'm gonna do it right now.
Thank you.
Do it right now, and then it'll pop up right at the top of your inbox.
Great. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so what you're saying is this that you're presenting today as a result of that. Is that correct? With the few changes.
A couple minor changes that we
mentioned as minor.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sure I'm comfortable with sending on through to get this to this being an ordinance going. Has the advertisement been done yet? No, this is for advertisement.
This is for.
No, this will have to go to city council for advertising. So we won't.
With that, even though it may be something hadn't been looked at, the red line that's being requested, my recommendations will be moved forward. And that gives The only thing that it changes is the committee members will have the opportunity to read those red lines and then make considerations.
That's fine.
I'd like to move forward.
Okay, go ahead if there's a
Madam Chair, I'd
motion.
like to make a motion to send to full council. The recommendation to advertise to approve, advertise the hold public hearing to consider the adoption of the ordinance to repeal section 16-9, replacing it with chapter 14, article 5, the Clean Air Act, and for further approval.
Okay. Is there a second?
As presented with the changes.
Is there a second?
I'll second as a matter for discussion.
I have a motion and a second then, Counselor Foster.
Okay, I'm reading through what was sent on November 3rd, and what I'm seeing is red line versions that are marked out on some. I see some redlined, and then I see red line that's here that's marked through.
So there were two attachments to the email that was sent on November 3rd. One was a red line showing the changes that the legal committee had requested, and the other one was a comprehensive red line that showed all the changes compared to the current ordinance.
Well, but I'm like, but here on just the fine one, just for instance, I know we said $1,000. We know that we can't do that. So it's fine not to exceed 500 for a second, which now the seconds in red is marked out. Each additional violation within 1 year after the warning marked out in red, first violation. And then the third said, fine not to exceed 1,000 for each additional. Well, we know that what I'm seeing is there's multiple red lines in here that are, I think now we've realized we made the changes and now they're marked out. I would be more comfortable if it's something was in there that we marked out, that it's not red anymore, that we change that color just so that we can differentiate between all the red, because when you're looking at it, there's just red everywhere. And then you start looking, oh, that whole paragraph's redlined or is marked out, but it's red, so it's not a change. Just page 5, reciprocal participant, that whole thing's red, it's a change, but now we marked it out. So it's qualified patient, another paragraph or two, it's marked out. So that's where I'm saying with this one, I can understand it, but there's just so much red that trying to make sure it's a change that is actually a change. If it's pretty. I don't know, do we want that version sent to be the version that we send on to council with?
Well, again, I think full council should have the information as to what it currently is and what it's being recommended to change to.
Well, this would do that, but I'm just saying, but then do we need all the extra stuff that we've already taken, that we were going to add, or that was advised to add, and then we're not adding it?
No, I mean, if we're not recommending it, then it shouldn't be in there, right? Is that what you're?
That's what I'm saying.
Referring to?
Yeah, either pull it totally out or put it in a different color. If someone,
Well, I think the purpose of the committee is to refine and bring our best recommendation to the council. So I would say if it's something we've discussed and if we've said yes to it, it still stays in red because it's a change. If we say no to it, it's out, right?
Okay, so now I am confused. Why, and maybe section 1442 definitions. The original A, those definitions provided for in the D. Johnson Clean Air Act and SA 1978 2416-1.
I don't know which one you're looking at. I'm sorry.
It's line 29 on page 2, or actually line 31. We've X'd out that whole.
Well, sorry, and don't let me slow this down. It's good.
Well, that's where I'm with that one. What version are we wanting to be? I agree with the chair that we should have some red line delineation, but
Get in.
Okay, I'm still looking at November 3rd because I haven't.
it's kind of.
What?
You had an extra I in there.
Oh, God damn it.
Can I grab the
What did you do? Drop this?
I fell with it in my pocket.
Oh, no.
And I'm just too stubborn.
Ow.
I can't type.
I was too stubborn now. I just replaced it like a month prior. And I was like, I ain't got it.
Yeah, I can't figure it out.
Looking like me typing on my phone here.
You want to get me, I can grab that.
Samsung? I can.
HDMI.
It's a Sony. I can't.
Sony and mirror screen.
Yeah, I can't.
You got the,
So this is dated
November 3rd.
10/29.
Okay, forget it.
I thought he said,
November 3rd is when that was sent.
okay.
who's only logged in on mine?
Is Outlook365.com? Is it mailed at Outlook365.com
Just office.com.
or office.com?
Okay, I remember this.
Just go back to Office.
Yeah.
We had the first one because it auto completes.
But that's not what we're looking at today.
One.
Not this one.
Right.
There you go. Now, so it says Outlook.
So this is the kind of thing
Morning, right?
that I think we should be looking at. And if we've already made recommendations on this,
Outlook Live.
then either it stays red line, it's changed red line, or it's not there if we don't want it.
If it's, see that one scrub red line. It's a red line with a red line through it.
Oh, so yeah, so that means it was a change that we're not recommending.
Right.
So it doesn't need to be in there. Okay. I don't know where you were. You said page 2. Okay. Oh, yeah.
So I'm not sure why we had the problem
But
with that.
it shouldn't be in here at all.
Right. But my question is, I don't have a problem with that paragraph.
Oh.
So this is
So I'm
the
not-
red line,
did we-
this is the comprehensive red line that we're referring to. That shows, compares what Kevin has done with what exists today in the ordinance. That's the second attachment to the email that I sent you.
Okay.
You have it.
The problem I'm hearing though is, the fact is we did this in early November. This is 6 weeks later. And we've made changes along the way and those may or may not be reflected in the comprehensive red line.
Yeah, it seems to me that, and I think what Barry's getting at too, is we build on the original red line because we already made some recommendations on it. Why does the air conditioner keep coming on in here? Am I the
Because
only
it's
one?
wonderful.
My nose is cold.
Okay.
Sorry. There we go.
Okay, so again, this was what committee saw in November, last month?
This is on November 3rd, this was a comparison of what the committee was considering at the time
Okay,
versus the current ordinance.
yes, okay.
That's what you're looking at. Now,
So what happened to this document?
it was emailed out to everybody on November 3rd, and
Right.
that's what happened with it.
So it never came to committee? It should have come to committee on November, whatever that was. I don't know what date it was. The November meeting was a week early.
The 18th? The 18th was,
That sounds right.
this version was not published in the packet, it was just emailed out, but the actual Clean Air Act was published in the packet. This one was only provided by email.
So what was in the packet? I don't understand. This wasn't, but what was?
What was included in the packet was the red line showing the changes that you had requested
from this committee.
From this, so this shows what was actually requested to be changed from one meeting to the next. This is what we published,
Okay.
showing you this. But what you had asked for was show me what is different from what Kevin has proposed versus what's in the ordinance today. That's this document.
And since that was only an informational document, not a document for discussion and approval, it went out via email.
No, but you're saying this was
No,
on the agenda.
the comprehensive.
It was on the agenda. This was not public. This version was not published in the agenda. It was just for reference to compare what Kevin is proposing versus what's in the ordinance today. What was published in the packet was the actual ordinance that is being considered with red lines showing what you had requested to be changed. See?
And that's, well, I think the whole point is we should be building on the last document. Whatever the last one was that we thought.
What I'm hearing though is you're asking for us to build on two sets of documents.
No.
Yes.
Oh.
We have to have a clean copy for your review, okay, that shows the change.
You can worry about the clean copy when we're through reviewing it. Isn't that the way we do it?
You've asked for a review of a complete copy, which is what we've been providing as well.
What I think part of what Kevin
was offered side by side.
I think part of what Kevin is saying is that because of the way that we're doing it, moving it to a whole new section and renumbering it completely, the side-by-side comparison with the red line doesn't really,
It's not be possible.
It's not what is going to be passed by so what is going to be considered to be approved is this document here. But what this document does is just for your reference, shows you, as was requested, what is different between today's ordinance and what is being proposed. But it's not what you would actually adopt. It's just for your information to compare.
Well, then why can't we continue with this? Because the changes are going to be in the article number, the section numbers, that kind of thing, without that. So we still have a continuity of the information we're getting in the form that shows us what we've already done and what's new that we're proposing, and then what's new that Kevin is bringing to us as a change. I mean, I don't care what the numbering is. I'm looking at the language in it.
So would it be possible, like she's saying, and if we strike something or move something from one article to another one, make a gray box highlighted, this has been moved to whatever? Is that possible? I mean, it's not to make more complicated, but I mean, something to where it's visible and see the changes and reference it back. I mean, is that asking too much?
We can try and do that.
I mean, just to reference all the changes.
We can do anything the committee wants. We just need to know exactly what you want, because now we're going back and revisiting stuff that we did 6 weeks ago and saying, no, that's not what we meant. This is what we're actually meaning.
No.
Okay, and I want to make sure, I mean, this should have been passed already so that we could get it referenced in the cannabis ordinance. We had to pull sections out of the cannabis ordinance this last time because this hadn't gone through. So we've got
because you're cross-referencing.
Balls in play right now. But it's not, no, it's not impossible to do exactly what you're doing. In fact, it's very possible. It's just an additional step, and it's very time consuming at a time that staff is getting exceedingly busy. We have 6 items on the planning commission agenda for this month, and we have, or 5, and we have 6 already scheduled for January coming out of our staff. So it's,
Well, again, I guess I'm only one person, but I am not comfortable taking to full council something that we are not showing them where the changes are and what we're proposing. So if this was November's and we redline or we accepted or rejected redline, take it in or put it out and build on it for the next month, so that we have a running document that shows what we're currently proposing.
And that is what is in your packet right now. Is that?
But it's not redlined. I don't know from it what's new.
The only thing that's changed since the last meeting was the one thing that is redlined and struck out.
But Kevin's saying there are other changes.
No, the changes
those have
were,
already been made. That was just, again, I was pulling that out from memory. I knew that was one of the things we did. Okay.
So what's in the packet? Okay, still doesn't tell me where all the changes are.
sure. And we could go back and put red lines for every change we've done since.
If I'm Juan Oropesa, and the first time I see this is in my packet, and this is what I see, I don't know. Sorry, you're here.
No, I don't disagree with you. My only point is if you would like that, we can do it. What we have tried to do right now is from meeting to meeting, we'll redline the changes from the last meeting. Otherwise, you would just see, as someone mentioned earlier, everything would be in red because we change things each meeting. So what you'll see.
To a different color, doesn't.
We can do that. So we can do that.
All right, I don't want to belabor this. This is silly. All right. What's the committee's choice? What's the committee want to do now?
Go for pizza.
Chinese.
Chinese.
I already have a Christmas party that started 2 minutes ago.
I have pork chops. No, I don't. Okay, what's the committee's pleasure? What are we going to do? Do we want to accept this? What do you want to do? I need a motion.
We already have a motion in a second.
Oh, to accept this.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, and that's the thing, the second definitely was so we could discuss it.
Right.
My question to the chair is, one of the questions you had was you weren't sure you wanted to move this and create its own chapter.
No, I said last time I was fine with that.
Fine with that now?
Yes, that I'm fine with. I've said that.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, that's what, no. Has this been renumbered to go into the new chapter, correct?
Yes.
So then numbering isn't a problem.
Well, the numbering came up because comparing what's in the current ordinance to what that is, the numbers are completely different.
See, I don't think the numbering is as important as the content.
Sure.
I'm sorry. It's just the way it is.
And just scanning through it from this to this, comparing the two, it is exactly what they said. There's not, yeah.
And that's the way you want to take it to council?
This way?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, if I could make a suggestion, and I think there's a possibility here. If you're all right with the way this document looks right now and you're willing to move it forward, amend the motion to direct staff to prepare a document that does a compare and contrast with the old and the new that will be added to the city council packet as a reference document. And that way it will be part of the packet. You'll be able to move this forward. You're only going to set it for public hearing anyway. You're going to review it, and then there's going to be a month for everybody to review the side by side. And staff will have time to prepare that for you, and we can keep this moving forward. But we don't have a problem going back and doing what you're asking. It's just I think that we can do a win-win here. We can accomplish moving it forward, but at the same time, staff does have time to put together the document you're requesting as a reference.
You know, I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot, Kevin. And I think I would say, yes, that's kind of what I would like to do. But yeah, I mean, like Counselor Foster said, I don't know what's new, what's been taken out. I've got to see it all in one document.
Madam Chair, I'll just amend my motion to include a side-by-side of the appendix as an appendix for publication.
We can do that.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Second hold again.
You get that?
What's that?
Yes.
You again.
Okay, so we have are you amending your motion or you withdrew your motion?
No, amending.
Ended it.
To ask for side by side. Okay, so now and you second the amendment. All right, all those in favor of amending the motion to include a side by side,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, no. Okay, motion carries. Now we have an amended motion, right? That says we'll send it to full council or just,
Send to full council.
that's what you want to do now. Okay.
For advertising.
Send this to full council to approve, or with our approval to advertise, with our recommendation to approve advertising and approval of the Roswell Clean Air Act as it will be presented with the side by side. Is that the motion?
Yes.
I think so. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I oppose no. Motion carries. It'll be on the council agenda in January as the change, and that because you're through with your changes.
I'm sorry?
You're through with your changes. It's ready to go to council.
Yes, ma'am. I'm happy with the way it looks. The question.
Sure.
I am for a point of order. Was yours an aye or was it a no? Okay.
It was
It was four.
Because I'm a nice person. It was an aye.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make.
Put that in the minutes.
Something we did miss. We did not put a stipulation that Keith Bell make a cartoon for the sign
ordinance.
Is he still around?
He's in Amarillo.
That's where I thought he was.
Draw a stick figure. Keith enjoyed the sign ordinance.
12 cartoons.
Wow.
Thank you all very much. Happy holidays. Be safe over the holidays. See you.
We do have department reports. Yeah,
Oh, well, I'm
nobody
sorry.
gets here to read it.
Any comments on your department report?
No comments on my department report.
They have been
Okay.
duly noted.
We've looked at them, guys. Thank you all very, very much. It's 6:08.
Again, sir.
Scan that part.